Tuesday, August the 3rd, and it continues to be beautiful weather here in St. Louis. Let's see, what is it today? It's about 77 degrees, cloudy. It's going to be cloudy all day in the high 70s. And man, first, let me take a moment to take a sip of this. You know what I'm saying? Let me take a sip of my peach flavored Propel water with Gatorade electrolytes and zero sugar. That is some efficient hydration right there. That's what you call hydration right there. But yeah, man, before we get into it, let me go ahead and give a shout out. We got G Martinez, we got Triple I, Triple I. What's going on? How y'all doing today? We got Teddy, we got Bibliophile. Oh, Bibliophile in the building. What's up? Haven't seen you in a while. It's good to have you here. But yeah, first, before we get into it, man, I just want to give a tip of the hat to everybody who's doing their best out here. Cause I mean, shit, doing a half-ass job is a difficult time, but doing your best, that shit can get pretty old. It can get really old doing your best at times. Your motivation can slack. You go through all types of ups and downs in life. You know what I'm saying? Everything costs a whole lot of money. It's real easy to just get wrapped up into everything that you don't have and that you wish you had. But at the end of the day, it is true that if we could afford to pay our bills and stuff like that, we probably certainly would have a lot less stress. But at the end of the day, there's a whole lot of things out of our control, and we got to do our best to be all right. You know what I'm saying? So, tip of the hat to everybody who's just wakes up every day and makes the choice to push forward. Cause man, this being an adult shit is some bullshit, man. I remember when I was a little kid and you just couldn't wait to grow up because you thought, oh man, you just thought it was gonna be fantastic. Wasn't nobody gonna be able to tell you what to do? Yeah, right. People still can tell you what to do. And you grow up and then you just realize how the world works. You're like, oh well, why can't we just, do this because it's the right thing? Things aren't that simple because so tip of the hat to everybody. We got Mike Boy. We got Lord of Bananas. We got Ashanti. What's going on? He said getting ready to move to. Oh, you moving to Europe? Bibliophile, where you going? Where you going to Europe? You know what? Tip of the hat to you for doing that as well, because they got a lot of stuff going on over there. But congratulations. I hope that everything goes smoothly. Moving is always a pain in the ass. I can only imagine what moving across the sea is like. But yeah, it's just, man, uh shout out to everybody doing their best, man, because goddamn. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? It's hold on. Are you going to Poland? Oh well, I wish you the best of luck. I hope everything goes smoothly, and more importantly, I hope that you find some peace and happiness while you're over there. So that's awesome. Congratulations. We got Christina, we got Kenny. Yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's get into it. Now, yesterday we looked at some images um of the protests erupting in Israel over the six hostages that were killed, that Netanyahu got killed. And it's pretty clear. Again, we discussed, and I'm not really somebody who talks about this subject very often because I don't really consider myself to be that great of a source for it. I just don't, just being honest. But I think that it's worth talking about the fact that um Netanyahu is not really popular with anybody but himself. I mean, the people of Israel want him gone. He's caught up in all these corruption scandals. And, obviously it's true that the United States could have and should have put its, I mean, we should have done a whole lot of things for decades, but just pertaining to this ceasefire situation, there's so much more that we could have done, clearly. We could have upheld funding in some type of way, obviously not sent weapons, things along those lines to really get Netanyahu to be like, look, dude, if you're not going to stop, then we just ain't going to give you no help. But Netanyahu is not interested in a ceasefire deal. Netanyahu's not interested in coming to a halt in anything that he's doing. And it seems that he believes that if he can only progress this situation further, if he can only take more land that belongs to Palestinians. If he could just hurry it up, that people will come along and we'll see what he's really envisioning. That kind of seems to be where his mind is. He's clearly delusional right now. Okay, 14% approval rating. Thank you for adding that. But yeah, he is becoming increasingly unpopular. This dude came over here and our Congress and Senate gave him an absolutely disgusting, sickening standing ovation that he does not deserve, that he should not get. A very harsh indictment on the United States government. This dude came over here and basically told us, shut up, give us more weapons so we can finish the job sooner. Because again, it's like he knows he's in trouble and he's trying to convince the world, but it's not going down that way. I'll share some more pictures that we looked at some of this yesterday, um of the protests going on over there. And people are just sick of it. It's for there's a lot of, like, come on, man. What's up with the ceasefire? What's up with the hostages? So this is from yesterday. But Netanyahu, of course, he basically told the protesters to fuck off. He said, "I will not be silenced," or some shit like that. We're gonna check that out in a second. But and that's why I said clearly unless he's forced to stop, then he's not going to stop unless he has absolutely no more access to weaponry. Which, I mean, if he doesn't get it from us, he probably would try to get it from elsewhere. But he's just like shrinking his base of support more and more and more and more. Um, so again, I've never really considered myself to, I mean, even outside of the issue with Israel and Gaza, I don't talk that much about foreign policy and foreign affairs because again, that's not really my area of expertise. If I have any expertise at all, it's just not. But this is pretty significant. Again, it's like the narrative in the American media that we see doesn't really seem to be the narrative that even the Israeli people are thinking and saying, because clearly they want this guy out of there. Hold on, we got Michael McCullough in the building. What's going on? But yeah, so again, clearly Netanyahu's not interested in a ceasefire deal because he's a theocrat, but also he seems to believe that he's so close to convincing people that he's got the right idea. But nah, man, you clearly don't have the right idea, and the overwhelming majority of the world is not feeling what you got going on. So let's look into this. We got Netanyahu pushes back against massive protests over Gaza and hostages. No one will preach to me. Defiant till the end. 14%. Teddy, you mentioned that you saw an approval rating for him of 14% in the country. That is extremely, damn. That's low as hell. 14%. You got the craziest of the crazies on your side and nobody else. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday pushed back against a new wave of pressure to reach a ceasefire deal in Gaza after hundreds of thousands of Israelis protested and went on strike. And President Joe Biden said he needed to do more after nearly 11 months of fighting. Well, Joe Biden, you should have done more too, but you got a few months left. So hopefully we can get the Harris administration to do more. Um, yeah. But yeah, we gotta wait and see what's up with that. In his first public address since Sunday's mass protests showed many Israelis' furious response to the discovery of six more dead hostages who Netanyahu is responsible for. Netanyahu said he will continue to insist on a demand that has emerged as a major sticking point in talks: continued Israeli control of the Philadelphia corridor, a narrow band along Gaza's border with Egypt, where Israel contends Hamas smuggles weapons into Gaza. Egypt and Hamas deny it. Well, one of the biggest issues with Netanyahu's framing of the situation is like October 7th did happen, but Hamas is not, that they don't have the weapons, they don't have the backing, they don't have the funding that Israel does, which obviously is shown in the disparities of lives lost as Palestinians are slaughtered ruthlessly really just because that's what Netanyahu wants and nothing more. Netanyahu called the corridor vital to ensuring Hamas cannot rearm the tunnels. This is the oxygen of Hamas, he said. And he added, no one is more committed to freeing the hostages than me, but no one will preach to me. Clearly, this isn't true, because if you were so committed to freeing the hostages and you would have accepted ceasefire deals that Hamas was down to go with, but you were like, nah. I mean, that's what he does. Like every time there's an opportunity for there to actually be a ceasefire deal, he pretends like he accepts it and then he immediately moves into, nah, we gonna keep it going. And that's what he does. And then of course he says, no one will preach to me. I mean, think about like just the level of psychopathy and arrogance in this. You are taking it upon yourself, and again, Israel's been stealing Palestinian land for decades. It's not new. However, the escalation that Netanyahu has, he really took the October 7th Hamas attacks as just an excuse to do more of what he wanted faster. He says this in his rhetoric when he says, give us the weapons and we'll get the job done faster. But, what does that even mean? We know what that means. But for him to say, no one will preach to me, this, what does this indicate? It indicates that he thinks that all of these people's lives are up to him. Like this is his place, his decision to make. Like only he can solve this issue. When in reality, he's like he's what did Reagan call them? He's a welfare queen. At the end of the day, he's a welfare queen. Pretty much everything Israel has. Well, I don't know about all that, but a lot of what Israel has is because we fund them so much money. The military prowess that they have is because they're assisted. Israel is a very small country in the middle of the desert. They don't have natural resources. They're not a state. They don't have that much to give in terms of raw materials. They are a welfare nation. So again, any way that you look at it, but no one will preach to me. Like, who does this dude really think he is? The walls are crumbling around him, but still, this is his position and his choice. Israelis have poured into the streets late Sunday in grief and anger in what happened. I mean, in what appeared to be the largest protest since the start of the war. The families and much of the public blame Netanyahu, saying the hostages could have been returned alive in a deal with Hamas. A rare general strike was held across the country on Monday. This dude is screwed. And again, it's like he just in complete desperation, all he can do is keep this shit going. That's all he can do is keep it going. But others support Netanyahu's drive to continue the campaign in Gaza, was triggered by Hamas's October 7th attack into Israel and has caused massive death and destruction in the territory. Netanyahu says the assault will force militants to give in to Israeli demands, potentially facilitate rescue operations, and ultimately annihilate the group. Key ally, the United States, is showing impatience. Biden spoke to reporters as he arrived at the White House for a Situation Room meeting. He insisted the negotiators remain very close to a deal. Well, that's the issue. Like, no matter what the deal is, Netanyahu's going to pretend like he's down for it, and then he's gonna turn it down. He's going to find some reason to reject it because he doesn't want a ceasefire. He doesn't want it, and he thinks it's his ticket to erasing his karma or the situation that he's in. However you want to look at it. He's out of his mind. Netanyahu he's completely out of his mind. Hamas has accused Israel of dragging out months of negotiations by issuing new demands, including for lasting Israeli control over the Philadelphia corridor and a second corridor running across Gaza. Hamas has offered to release all hostages in return for an end to the war, the complete withdrawal of Israeli forces, and the release of a large number of Palestinian prisoners, including a high profile militants. Broadly, the terms called for under an outline for deal put forward by Biden in July. Netanyahu has pledged total victory over Hamas and blames it for failure of the negotiations. But again, it's like, what does he really want? He's a theocrat. He thinks that Palestinians are in the way of the glory of Israel. That's what he thinks. That's how he sees it. He's, in fact, a very simple minded person. On Monday, he said he is ready to carry out the first phase of the ceasefire. No, he isn't. Clearly, he's not. But yeah, again, like this dude, for all of this, at hundreds of thousands of people protesting, and you're like, nah, y'all ain't gonna preach to me. Like, dude, who the hell are you supposed to be? We got Queen Fritz in the building. What's going on? Um, but yeah, I mean, this is just this is it's clear and plain as day about what this is and how this is going down. Netanyahu is not interested in stopping, and unless he is forced to, he won't. So thousands attended the funeral Monday for one of the six Israeli American Goldberg Pollen. He was one of the best known hostages, with his parents leading a high profile campaign for the captive's release. The general strike, called by Israel's largest trade union, the Histadrut, ended early after a labor court accepted a petition from the government calling it politically motivated. It was the first such strike since the start of the war, aiming to shut down or disrupt major sectors of the economy, including banking and healthcare. Some flights at Israel's main international airport, Ben Gurion, either departed early or were slightly delayed. Quote, "There's no need to punish the whole state of Israel because of what is happening overall. It is a victory for Hamas," said one passenger. Well, that was somebody who was on one of those planes. But in Jerusalem, resident Avi Levy said that, quote, "I think this is fair. The time has come to stand and to wake up, to do everything for the hostages to come back alive." I mean, shit, again, he doesn't care about the hostages. He don't care about none of that shit. All he cares about is using this as an excuse to take more Palestinian land. That's all this has ever been, and it's all it's ever going to be, unless he is put to stop. Yeah, unless people put this to arrest, unless he's completely axed of funding, no more weapons, and clearly his own people don't want him in there. So, uh, he's got a lot of problems. Hold on, let's see what this is. Okay, we don't really need to watch this. I got another thing open, but it's pretty much the same. Netanyahu, I asked for your forgiveness for not bringing them back alive. Netanyahu said, "We were close, but we didn't succeed. Hamas will pay a very heavy price for this." Again, like, I mean, bro, he's just using the hostages as endless excuses to continue to escalate. Like that's it. Like he's not even trying to pretend like he cares about this. I mean, yes, exactly, Fritz. He's a cold-hearted psychopathic murderer. Netanyahu is out of his mind and unbelievably entitled. Again, think about how crass and arrogant it is for you not only to be doing what you're doing, but you got like negative a million% approval rating in your country. Your whole country's rising up to protest against you because of all these hostages that are dying. You keep rejecting the ceasefire deal, and you say, "You won't preach to me." Like this dude, what are you gonna do with that? What are you gonna do with that? You think you're gonna negotiate with somebody like him? Of course not. But yeah, I think it's plain and clear as day that Netanyahu is never ever going to stop this. And also he's in trouble. Like I don't know exactly how this is going to go down. Again, I'm really there's so many people who do what I do who are much more educated and up to date with everything that's going on over there. But I don't really see how Netanyahu can escape whatever it is that's coming to him. I don't know if he's going to end up in some type of prison cell. I don't know exactly what it's going to be. And again, even when you get rid of Netanyahu, the issue of Israel illegally settling in Palestinian land is not going to just up and disappear. That problem's still going to remain, and there still has to be a lot that's done about that. Um, but I mean, this guy he seems to be at the end of his rope. I don't know exactly how it's going to go down, but I think it's pretty undeniable that he's in a really bad position. But yeah, I'll keep my eyes on that and talk more about it because again, like we already went over yesterday. I'll still talk about some stuff. Oh yeah, and my boy again, he got pending charges too. Like he's really in a bad place. And again, he seems to think that if I can just hurry this up, aka if I can just wipe out all the Palestinians, then like magically all of this will go away. Like, nah, bro, that's not how this is gonna go. And unfortunately, tens of thousands of innocent people who have nothing to do with your psychopathy are being slaughtered in unimaginable ways that are even hard to look at and pay attention to. You know what I'm saying? I don't like even if this isn't your biggest issue. I mean, naturally, this isn't. This isn't going to be the biggest issue. Like in a presidential election, you're going to have things like economics that come before that. But I don't really see how you can look at this stuff and just not be disgusted at what's going on. You know what I mean? Like it's just. I mean, it's just completely I mean, there's it's a genocide. What are you going to say? Oh, well, technically, it's not. Like, well, what is it then? Is it a genocide junior? Is that what it is? Be careful with your words. Don't say genocide. Okay, it's a genocide junior. That's what it is. It's juvenile. But yes, let's move forward. Let's take a look at some of the money hauls for the down ballot races going on right now. Yeah, I think he was convicted on some corruption charges or whatnot, but yeah, of course, Netanyahu, I will not be preached to. Like, who the hell does this dude think he is? House and Senate Republicans are starting to panic about a huge money gap with Democrats. Kerry Lake is getting trounced in polling and pretty much everything. Uh, I always say about her, like, I don't really know why she even entered politics in the first place. She was like a news anchor before all of this. She seemed to have been doing decent in her career. Like, a lot of people just completely destroyed their professional careers, their social lives, and their legacies and their names for what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, Carrie Lake didn't need to do any of this, but she did. What's her name? Mike Lindell's another example because before Mike Lindell got involved in all this Trump bullshit, his story was pretty inspiring. I mean, I didn't know deeply about it, but you go from being hooked on crack, and crack is a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like that is not yes, greed, exactly. Good answer, Fritz. That is what it is. It's greed. Um, Mike Lindell, he went from having a really bad drug problem. It consumed his life. He turned his life around, built a successful company, and then he lost it all over Donald Trump. Yes, greed and delusions of grandeur for sure, 100%. All right. The leader of House Republicans' biggest super PAC told donors last month he needed $35 million more to compete with Democrats in the fall. Senate GOP campaign chair Steve Daines used his primetime speaking slot at the Republican convention to lament that massive spending from Democrats was keeping him awake at night. And his House GOP counterpart warned that their party's challengers trained Democratic incumbents by a collective $37 million at the end of June. Republicans are already worried about a glaring financial gap even before Kamala Harris's rise. Now, with the election just 2 months away, they found themselves in an even more dire position. Democrats have seen a flood of enthusiasm in recent weeks. They're far outspending Republicans on air, and their donors are more energized than ever, with campaign finance data showing a surge in grassroots fundraising in late July after President Joe Biden dropped out. Well, you see, this is what happens when you let your entire party turn into a cult, because when everything is hinging and riding on one individual, if that individual, starts to, spiral out of control like Donald Trump is, then everything is going to spiral out of control with it. I mean, like they don't have even for anything legitimate that could normally possibly work against Kamala Harris or anybody else. Let's say it was anyone other than Kamala Harris. Like you could talk about well, she doesn't have her policy positions fully outlined. Well, Donald Trump has a bullet point list of things that say like, like make America great again, end inflation, keep men out of women's sports. Like these are the things on his policy list. Oh, and of course, don't forget to deport people who are in support of Palestinian lives. That's number 18 on his bullet point list. You can't really say anything about Kamala's interview because when Donald Trump does interviews, he says things like, if Jesus came down and was a vote counter, I would win California. Okay. Like or he constantly incriminates himself or just says the most ridiculous things anyone's ever heard. Oh, and don't forget when he was with what was it, the Moms for Liberty or some shit. He can't stop bragging about the reversal of Roe. He tries to backpedal from Roe, but then he can't because the evangelical lunatics in his base, they just want abortion to be completely illegal everywhere. So whether it be that this dude said, what did he say the other day at the Moms for Liberty? He said something about children are going through gender transitions at school. Like it's happening at school. Like, so again, what do you really say? Like he's completely he's sucking all the oxygen out of the room. And it's like this dude was already president and he lost. So if you were really that big of a deal, if you really did a good job, you would have won your reelection campaign. So it's just like it's now that we're a few months out, and then the Harris Walls campaign, like they're running a good campaign in the sense of like, they got volunteers, they're knocking on doors, making phone calls, they're doing what they need to do. Um, it's just like everything that could work against Kamala just isn't working because on the other side you got Donald Trump and he's just he's a clown. He's a complete clown. So they really screwed themselves by making everything about one man. It's really amazing to watch. But that's why you don't do that. Quote, the only thing preventing us from having a great night in November is the massive financial disparity our party currently faces. That's not the only thing, but it definitely isn't helping. The executive director of the National Republican Senatorial Committee, quote, we are on a trajectory to win the majority, but unless something changes drastically in the next 6 weeks, we will lose winnable seats. In some ways and don't forget too, like Trump can't stop messing himself up with key groups. You know what I'm saying? Like him and JD Vance can't stop. And you already know Queen Fritz is one of them volunteers too. Exactly, Aaron. They rode the Trump train until it went off a cliff. So again, it's like there's just nothing is really relevant because like Kamala Harris is a very, she's normal. Like she feels normal. She's not a part of the circus. Like she obviously she's not, no one really thinks, well, I don't won't say no one, but I think most people who are pretty objective don't think that she's gonna, go in there and completely change the system. I mean, she couldn't if she tried. But again, on the other side, you got Donald Trump. So what are we even talking about? He piss off women, piss off veterans. He pisses off everybody. And it's looking like they're having issues with money for down ballot elections. But Democrats are reaching new heights, pounding the airwaves with multi-million dollar ad blitzes while their GOP opponents are still scrambling for funds. In some key Senate battlegrounds, Democrats are so flush with cash that they are outspending Republicans by tens of millions on there. Man, Democrats got so much money. The Harris, and we about to go over this in a sec. The Harris campaign is just giving money to other down ballot elections in the tens of millions of dollars. They got so much money. And it's funny to see and Carrie Lake, she's saying that she's not losing in the polls. Actually, she's winning, which she isn't. But it's really funny to see, like, you got Frank Luntz, who's a legitimate. He's a legitimate pollster. But it's funny to see him say like the debate is everything. Well, it wasn't that long ago when the same person is saying stuff like, um, debates don't hold that much weight. They don't sway that much. But now they're like, this is everything. But I mean, Trump's not going to do well. Donald Trump is 78 years old, and his campaign doesn't want his microphone on because he's so out of control that if they don't mute the microphones, he won't shut up. You know what I'm saying? It's like everybody knows. Yep, and he in them sundown towns. This dude Donald Trump he reposts things, and everyone has seen it. Everyone has seen it. Reposting things of Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris that says, "Funny how blowjobs impacted both their careers differently." Like selling shirts with Kool-Aid Kamala Berry. Like it's just stupid, man. It's ridiculous. And now the right they trailing off into the type of stuff that they did with Obama, like, oh, he wore a tan suit. He put mustard on his burger. You know what I'm saying? Like you got Kamala's wearing earbuds. And the pettiness is really just fueling her campaign because it's like they're so desperate to make it seem like Kamala's stupid and weak, and she's a lot of things, but she's not stupid and weak. That's not one. She's not dumb. She's not weak. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like y'all got to figure out something else. But again, it doesn't matter what else they do because they stuck with Donald Trump. Outrage. Fox News slams Kamala Harris for wearing earbuds on a phone call. Like what? Like this, they all look like losers.
Nearly 40 days avoiding interviews, Kamala Harris is now being called out for a new tactic of avoiding questions from reporters by wearing earbuds. The move sparking outrage on social media, with one ex-user writing, quote, "An American hostage gets killed and she literally is trying to block out questions about it. Unreal." Steamboat Institute Blankley Fellow and Restoring America editor at the Washington Examiner, Kaylee McGee-White, joins me now. Kaylee, great to see you as always. Yet she's applying for a job, Kaylee, where you can't just pop in the earbuds when she or Putin threatens you. What's going on here?
Like what? Like and look, well, I'm speaking for myself, but how do you get in front of the cameras and act like this is an issue? She had on earbuds while she was getting out of the plane. Well, what if Putin or Xi Jinping? Yeah, she's just gonna leave in her earbuds. Like, what is this?
Yeah, my favorite part about this, Todd, was
And again, like the most legitimate criticisms of Kamala Harris come from the left. You know what I'm saying? Like where it's like, hey, how much is she really gonna is she really gonna part ways with Biden on her stance on Gaza or Israel? How much is she really gonna do X, Y, and Z with health? Those are legitimate criticisms. This is not legitimate. Oh, she had in headphones. Like what? What are you talking about?
when she had the wired in earphones in, and at one point when she was walking up the stairs to the plane, she held her phone up to her ear as if she was taking a phone call when it was very clearly that she already had earbuds in. The whole thing doesn't make sense. But this is her strategy. It's to continue to dodge the press, avoid hard questions about her record, and refuse to give them answers to the American people. And I think we can reliably expect her not to do a single sit down.
How metaphorical is this? Oh, she dodging the press because she got headphones in. Like what? And actually, look at the CNN interview she did. I mean, she got to ask some dumb questions, but she got to ask some decent questions as well. When they asked about, well, you said this about fracking. How do you justify how people could potentially look at you as flip flopping on the issues? And she answered the questions as decently as I think she could have, in terms of just like, well, my overall values haven't changed, but sometimes you got to go about things in certain types of ways. You can look at what Joe Biden and I did with insulin. You can look at what we did with the infrastructure bill. Like, she answered the questions. But again, on the other side, you got Donald Trump talking about, I would win California if Jesus came down. If Jesus' second coming came down, the first thing he would do is he would give me California.
interview after her disastrous one with CNN this past week. But think about the precedent this sets. If you're allowed to run a campaign on just vibes and not policies, if you're allowed to continue to dodge questions from the press, if you're allowed to not provide a single substantive policy for the American people, then how are we as voters going to evaluate you and give you our mandate to serve as our representative in the White House? And this is what Kamala Harris seems to forget. That yes, the president is a public servant on behalf of the American people, and yet she is doing every single thing that she can to make herself unavailable to the people right now.
It's such an important point that you made. That's really the 30,000 foot view. But
and then Donald Trump again. What's Donald Trump doing? He'll call in. He calls into Fox News and he just rambles for 5 minutes, and like everything he says is a lie. A ridiculous lie. Kids are going through gender transitions at their elementary schools behind their parents' backs. They got big ass operating rooms. They got all the anesthesia that everybody needs. You know what I'm saying? They got all that going on while you're at school. Next thing you know, Susie is Steve. Like what are these people talking about?
But specifically with regard to the events over the weekend, is this her latest attempt to kind of avoid the Israel-Hamas situation, especially when it hits ahead like it did this weekend, in order to avoid upsetting Minnesota and Michigan? Just don't take an opinion on anything, and you can't offend anybody, Kayleigh.
Absolutely. But the problem is that she is tied to the Biden administration's disastrous record on foreign policy, this weekend being just the latest in a very long list of examples of how America's lack of leadership on the world stage has jeopardized American lives. And I say this as someone whose brother serves in the Navy very proudly. I do worry about him if Kamala Harris were to take over as commander-in-chief.
Yeah. You worry about your brother who serves in arms if Kamala's going to take over, but not if Trump takes over. The guy who calls military people who died suckers and losers, the guy who who shits on the Medal of Honor. The Medal of Freedom's better because I gave it to somebody. My biggest corrupt donor, I gave it to her, so the Medal of Freedom's better. The guy who goes to the Arlington Cemetery, pushes someone out of the way. Campaign spokesperson Stephen Chung says, "Oh, they were having a mental health episode." And then, Trump can't shut up about Arlington. He can't stop talking about it. Matter of fact, now it's made up. It's a made up story. It's all fake. So again, that's like, among many other things, that's really one of Republicans' biggest issues. It's like nothing that you're saying holds weight because you're cool with Trump. I mean, Donald Trump doesn't know anything about anything. He is the dumbest person to ever be president, ever. I mean, 107% of the jobs are taken by illegal immigrants. And he said that multiple times. Like, dude, what? And of course, here we go. What went down at Arlington? Oh, it was fake. It didn't actually happen. Like, I mean, it's just so stupid. It's so a second Trump term would just it would be, it would be bad. It would be real. I mean, it would be worse than we thought it would be because now he's just so clearly out of his mind. I mean, not that he ever had a mind to be out of in the first place, but you know what I'm getting at. Like, what is this shit right here? Instead of just shutting up about Arlington, he has to talk about it. There was no conflict or fighting at Arlington National Cemetery last week. It was a made-up story by Comrade Kamala and her misinformation squad. She made it all up to make up for the fact that she and Sleepy Joe had blood on their hands for the incompetent Afghanistan withdrawal, the most embarrassing day in U.S. history. Yeah, nothing was more embarrassing than us actually getting out of a war. That's the most embarrassing thing we've ever done is leave a war. They should have been at Arlington, not on a beach or studying for a debate. They shouldn't have been. They shouldn't have been studying for a debate. Thank you to my friends, the great Gold Star families, for revealing the truth of a beautiful day of honor, he added. Could not have been a nicer moment, and there were no fights or problems, only in the heads of those that are destroying our country. I mean, like can't take responsibility for nothing, can't say sorry. I mean, and it seems like this Arlington thing is not going away. It seems like it's not just going to disappear. Let's see where we at now. We got the Democrats are just swimming in money, just absolutely swimming in money right now. Yeah, exactly, Aaron. They don't talk about how he actually had a part to play in that. I mean, like Donald Trump is again, there's so many legitimate things to really hold politicians' feet to the fire for, but you're usually dealing with people who are relatively, if not very intelligent and shrewd and accomplished. You know what I'm saying? Like Donald Trump's none of those things. He's a failed child. And he's a game show host. He's a reality TV show star. He's a housewife. He's a real housewife of New Jersey. That is who Donald Trump is. He's a real housewife of New Jersey. And they're just like, oh, there's nothing to see here. Swimming in money. Harris's campaign shares $24.5 million with down ballot Democratic races. Let's see where it's going. Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign is channeling some of its fundraising success toward down ballot races that will be essential for the party to enact its agenda if she wins the White House. Both the presidential race between Harris and former President Trump, as well as key down ballot races for Democrats, remain tight with months until Election Day. The Harris campaign and Democratic National Committee are giving $25 million to congressional and state level campaigns. And let's see. It says the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee and Democratic Senatorial rather campaign committee will each receive $10 million. Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee gets $2.5 million. Democratic Attorneys General Association gets $1 million, and the Democratic Governors Association gets $1 million. Quote, the vice president believes that this race is about mobilizing the entire country and races at every level to fight for our freedoms and our economic opportunity. $540 million. Money, money, money. And another thing, Alonzo, what's going on? Good to have you here. But what was I saying? Another thing that seems to really be working well for Kamala is that she doesn't talk about the fact that she's a woman or the fact that she's black, minority, anything like that. She lets other people say that. Hillary could not stop talking about the glass ceiling. She could not stop talking about how she's a woman. And Kamala's really not saying that at all. And definitely, how she addressed the whole like Donald Trump says that you just became black, where she was like, next question. Perfect, because people have eyes. We know you're a woman. We know that you're black. And she's not really falling for the trap of people being like, oh, well, she's just running on identity politics. So that seems to be working well for her too. All right, let's see. We got some we got some interesting stuff today. We got some stuff from Chip Chick. We got some stuff from Kevin O'Leary, who's he's just the worst. Matter of fact, let's go here, Mr. FTX. Let's go to Mr. FTX. Kevin O'Leary takes aim at Australia's one of their new laws that basically makes it so that it's like you don't have to respond to your employer after hours. And Kevin O'Leary's like, who dreams this crap up? If I can be like, I want access to my employees 24/7. What if it's 3 in the morning and I just have to have you? Like, bro, well, we're gonna get into it, but he's talking like this a startup company or something. Like, yeah, I could if you're a founder in a startup company, yeah, then that's different. But if you're just an employee somewhere, Like, I don't want to hear from you at 11 o'clock at night just because you feel like you own me. Like, I need my fifth mansion. I need another yacht. God damn it. Christina, thank you so much for 10 months of membership. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, it is almost the 1 year anniversary. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate you. I appreciate everybody for being here, and any amount of support and love and encouragement and belief that you can give me is always not only appreciated, but very much needed. So thank you. But let's get back into this ghoul right here. Is your boss texting you after work? Do you get a please fix email while you're on vacation? In some countries, you can now simply ignore all of these notes once you're off the clock. Australia recently joined the ranks of countries like France, Spain, and Belgium by passing a quote right to disconnect law, which came into effect on August 26th. This legislation allows employees to step away from work related communications outside their official working hours, ensuring that personal time remains personal. Seems pretty fair to me. Seems pretty all right to me. I mean, for the most part, I know that a lot of people go through this, but for the most part, people's bosses and employers aren't texting them after work. So I say that to say this should not be something that raises a lot of alarm, because the reason that most people aren't getting texts from their employer work is because it's not necessary, you know. But not if you're when in those extra mile cultures. Christina, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Yes, yes, I'm definitely gonna keep it up. Long way to go. It's not always easy, you know what I'm saying? But it's not easy for any of us. We all have our daily struggles to go through. And I appreciate y'all for encouraging me and helping to keep me going. Okay, so Kevin O'Leary, he not with it though. He is not with employees having some privacy. He says, "This kind of stuff just makes me crazy. It's so dumb. Who dreams this crap up is my question. And why would anybody propose such a stupid idea? Why would you pretend like FTX was a good idea when everyone else knew that it was a Ponzi scheme? No, we're not letting you get away with that, Kevin. So you can shut up about 35 times. Okay, so let's see what his concerns are. Again, if you're a founder of a startup company, it's different, but most people are not. So you don't really need to hear from your employer after hours. You really don't. But this is what he says. As an investor and entrepreneur, Leary places great importance on the seamless operation of a business, even outside of regular working hours. Okay, what if this is H&M or Sears or some massive company that is you don't again, this is ridiculous. He has voiced strong concerns about employers' ability to reach their employees in urgent situations, highlighting potential issues with the right to disconnect laws. Again, if you're just a regular employee, what urgent situation is going to be there if you're not a part of the board or the people actually running making the final decisions? It's 2 in the morning. Oh, I got this going on. Good for you, buddy. Handle it. I'm trying to go to sleep. I'm trying to sleep. I'm having sex with my wife right now. I don't care that you're having problems at 1:30 in the morning. Maybe you should well, let's continue. He says, "What happens if you have an event in the office and it's closed or you have an emergency somewhere? Okay, you can still text them and say, "Hey, the office is closed." No one what a classist. He's such a classist. And you have to get a hold of them at 2 in the morning because it affects the job they're working on. How many people is this the case for, Kevin? If employees start ignoring their boss's calls, texts, and emails outside of work hours, an after hours emergency might have to wait until the next business day, which Kevin O'Leary finds unacceptable. No, motherfucker, I want you to have no privacy. Fuck your privacy. When asked whether he ever encounters employees who silence their phones outside of work, O'Leary doesn't hesitate with his response. The next moment is, "I just fire them." Not if you need them, you don't. Shut up, Kevin. You're just he's just playing a character. This is his Shark Tank character. Clearly, he's not smarter than everybody else. But this is just his a caricature of himself because no, you're not just going to fire somebody if you need them. No, you're not. And especially if you, oh, I tried to get a hold of you and you didn't answer, you're fired. Dude, shut up. You are not going to fire somebody for that. No, you ain't. Unless you already wanted to fire them. clocking off used to mean something. While O'Leary's criticism is rooted in the risk of not being able to contact staff during critical moments, proponents of the right to disconnect argue that such laws are essential for establishing clear boundaries between professional duties and personal well being. Yeah, I think the overwhelming majority of people are not going to have a problem with this, even employers. Because again, unless you're all working on a startup, why do you need to talk to people that late? Like, what's the point? I don't really. But yeah, he's just playing a character. All right, we got Libby. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for 11 months of membership. Yes, I still gotta watch No Men Beyond this point. You never gonna let me forget about that. Thank you, Libby. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think that you know, if you're getting a call from your boss after hours, it's probably expected in some type of way. Like I don't, and that's why I mentioned it's like it's ridiculous for Kevin O'Leary to be acting like this is such a huge problem because most employers are not going to contact you after hours because it's just not necessary. They probably got other people on the clock who are there while you're not there. But if they do, then you probably expect it in some type of way, or you play a very important role in the company's reputation in some type of way. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, no, you can't. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't just. Oh, you're fired. You're like, damn, bro, I was asleep. Oh, I don't care. You're like Kevin, shut up. Mike Boy, my brother, thank you so much for 11 months of membership. We coming up on a year. We are coming up on a year, and we doing well as an organic movement. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, brother. I really do. Man, and it's when I get an editor for this channel, oh my God, we're gonna take off. But one day at a time. One day at a time. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate y'all. We're gonna get into some chip chick stuff in a minute. Let's talk about Elon Musk a little bit. Let's talk about how weird this guy is. Because this is a great idea. This is such a great idea, right? Right. Elon Musk suggests support for replacing democracy with government of high status males. He, he's such an idiot. He's so fucking stupid. Interesting observation. Okay, what does it say? People who can't defend themselves physically, women and low T men. You know what? Before I even go any further with this, right? At what point in Elon Musk's life has he ever been high testosterone or like some guy you really didn't want to mess with other than the money that he has? Like people who are obsessed with this type of stuff are like the Tim Pools of the world who are obsessed with like gender roles and shit. It's like none of these guys are very strapping. None of these guys are like, the stereotypical strongman that you would imagine. Or Peter Thiel, the guy who was always backing right-wing nut jobs who can't even Peter Thiel can barely even speak. And like when he talks, he's like his stutter is bad. And I only say that to say like how is this a representation of gender roles? It's just so ridiculous. But yes, he is out. He is automatically out. Like Elon, who okay, but this is what it says. People who can't defend themselves physically, women and low T men, and even if you're a super big guy, like you're still just one person. Like there's only so much you can defend yourself by yourself. Parse information through a consensus filter as a safety mechanism. They literally do not ask, quote, is this true? They ask, will others be okay with me thinking this is true? Okay, I still don't really know what this is getting at yet. This makes them very malleable to brute force manufactured consensus. If every screen they look at says the same thing, they will adopt that position because their brain interprets it as everyone in the tribe believing it. Only high T alpha males and A neurotypical people, hey, artists, are actually free to parse new information with an objective, is this true filter. What? What? So only high people with high levels of, I mean, this is dumb on its face because higher levels of testosterone makes you more aggressive and more horny. So like when your T levels are up, you're literally dumber than you would be when they're more down, which is why, the whole, you know, the whole philosophy of no fap just wouldn't it no, that just would never work for me. It just would never work for me. I got to get my testosterone out my body as much as possible, or else I'm gonna be a lunatic. So again, this on its face, and it looks like I don't know. I don't. Did a woman say this? There's a woman in the background, so I don't know if that's what a woman said, but it's just like, um, no, when your T levels are higher, you're just like, I want to fight, I want to fuck. That's what testosterone makes you want to do. It makes you want to fight and fuck. But yeah, I don't really know what this is getting at all. This is why a republic of high status males is best for decision making. Democratic, but a democracy only for those who are free to think. And he says, interesting observation. No, this is not an interesting observation, Elon. This is just stupid. And again, you're very wealthy, but that's it. You're not a you've never been a strapping male. You're not. The only reason you got so many kids is because you got a whole lot of money. That's why you got a whole lot, because he has, he thinks that he's populating the world with like high quality individuals, but like you're not, bro. You're just rich. But this is honestly some of the dumbest shit I've ever read in my life. Only high testosterone alpha males and aneurotypical people are actually free to parse new information with an objective. Is this true filter? What does this even mean? What? Oh, and of course, the theories written by an anonymous user suggest that only people. This is so ridiculous. What the fuck? Oh god. Okay. Theories like this, which promote hegemonic masculinity, are often criticized for being sexist, exclusionary, not realistic, and toxic, and stupid. Very, very stupid. This is a very interesting observation. It's not an observation, it's just some dumb shit somebody said. He desperately wants to be loved by people who are 50 years younger than him. What? Oh my God, this was just one of oh God. Oh no, no, Elon. That was one of the dumbest things I've ever. I mean, have you ever heard of roid rage? You know what I'm saying? I don't get it. I don't really get it, man. Because again, it's like if you have elevated levels of testosterone, whether it be because you ain't busted a nut in a long time, or because you're juicing because you on the test because you on the steroids or something, it's gonna make you like, "Rah!" That's what testosterone does. That's what it does. It makes you aggressive and horny. That's what it does. It doesn't really do anything else. You feel me? Like it doesn't do much of anything else. It makes you aggressive and horny. And only those people who can't keep their dicks in their pants are able to objectively decipher anything at all. We got Joe Lees, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Late to the game, viewing the doc and Shay. The doc's a superhero. We were talking about the last time I was on there. The last time I was on there, we was talking about how the doc is secretly Batman and some shit. That's really what's going on. He's easily Bruce Wayne. He's a black Bruce Wayne. You know what I'm saying? Teddy, thank you for coming through. I appreciate you, brother. But yeah, Dr. Richie is the black Bruce Wayne. He's always somewhere cutting a ribbon, donating to something, getting an award. And he takes a lot of hiatuses because he's fighting crime. That's what he does. But yeah, that was some of the dumbest shit I've ever read in my entire life. And Elon Musk, oh, great observation. Like what? Because like I said, whenever my T levels are up, I know because I'm stupid. Testosterone does nothing other than make you aggressive, more muscular, and horny. That's what it does. But I'm not a doctor, so I could be off a little bit. But yeah, Elon Musk is a weirdo. All right, we got a new fungus in town. We got a new fungus in town. For everyone who lives in California, there is a new fungus going around, so be careful. Drought fueling spread of fungus that's making people sick across California. Climate change induced drought conditions have been driving the dispersal of a dangerous airborne fungus across California in recent years, a new study has found. Cases of the flu like disease. I got to take a sip. I got to take a sip of my peach flavored Propel water with Gatorade electrolytes and zero sugar before I try to read this word. All right. That's some good peach flavored Propel with Gatorade electrolytes and zero sugar. All right, now what does this shit say? Okay. Valley fever spreads via soil dwelling organism called I missed it. Where are we now? Okay, here we go. Cases of the flu-like disease Cocidio oh, Jesus. Coccidioidomycosis. Coccidioidomycosis. I probably am not saying this right, but it took me a while to even try. Coccidioidomycosis, also known as valley fever, have risen dramatically over the past 2 decades, tripling from 2014 to 2018 to gain and again from 2018 to 2022, according to the study. While the disease can cause grave and even deadly complications, the authors said they have identified certain seasonal patterns that could help public health officials prepare for future surges. Valley fever spreads via a soil dwelling organism called coccidioids. So this is a bacterium, I guess. Or no, is it a fungus? Which was previously concentrated in parts of Arizona and California's lower San Joaquin Valley. Rather than passing from person to person, the disease develops from the direct inhalation of these fungal spores. Oh shit, we got the last of us. That's what's about to happen. The last of us is going down. Everybody about to turn into a fungus zombie. Those most likely to breathe in the fungus are farmers, field workers, construction crews, or anyone who is in close interaction with soil outdoors, aka illegal immigrants. This is must be a genius plot to actually get rid of the illegal immigrants. You know, and Trump wants to send 20 million people home, and what do? Farm, field workers, construction crews. Collaborating with the California Department of Health, the University of California led research team analyzed all California cases of valley fever reported from 2000 to 2021. Via these 2 decades of data, the researchers were able to determine how valley fever noticed that variances in the disease's emergence patterns were often driven by drought. Climate change gonna turn us all into fungus zombies. Quote, we were surprised to see that there were certain years during which few or no counties had a seasonal peak in valley fever cases. That's interesting that these spores, the direct inhalation of the spores, get you sick. It's more dry, so I guess the fungal spores can spread out easier or something. I'm not a botanist. I don't know. Well, if you're in California, it looks like you're about 5 days away from becoming a fungus zombie. So be careful, everybody. Vincent Morales. Yeah, exactly. Close enough. It was close enough. Good. The coccidioids, coccidiodolitis, or whatever that was. However you say it. Uh, you said 2 weeks ago, a bunch of my friends and I got hives and I had to go on cortisosteroids. I get hives from weed, actually. Weed makes me break out in hives. Sometimes the powdery spores from the weed, like when it touches my skin, I'll break out in hives. Fritz about to go ahead and get them plants ready for the indoors. Okay. Yes, fall is upon us now. The days are getting shorter, the weather is starting to cool off. And control of the US House may come down to 6 races in California. So let's check that out. It said, from what we read, it looked like it was a like flu-like symptoms, Vincent. That's what we read, or that's what I read, that it was like flu-like symptoms. Drier air means spores can travel farther and stay airborne longer due to not clumping and interacting with as much moisture in the air. I don't know if for real pulled. Well, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense in terms of spores being able to travel further. I think that you're on the money with that. That makes sense to me. All right, let's talk about these house races. Boom, 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 boom. Control of U.S. House may come down to 6 races in California. California is home to 6 bellwether U.S. House races that analysts say could help determine which party controls Congress in 2025. Latinos make up roughly 1 in 4 California voters this year and hold an even larger share in some of the most competitive districts, meaning they're expected to play a crucial role in the 6 key races. The 4 main PACs devoted to House races, 2 Republican and 2 Democratic, have said they're planning to spend nearly $73 million on ads in California. Man, politics is so expensive, man. And we're so used to these numbers just being flown around, like, this pack gave $20 million. This one gave $15 million. Like we're just so used to these numbers just being thrown around like it's nothing. A rematch between US Rep. John Duarte, who was a Republican and former Democratic state lawmaker, Adam Gray in California's 13th district in the Central Valley, is drawing the most eyeballs since it was decided with a few hundred votes in 2022. Another rematch pits longtime U.S. Rep. Ken Calvert against former federal prosecutor Will Rollins in the 41st District, the state's inland empire. The 45th Congressional District in Orange County has incumbent U.S. Michelle Steele pitted against Democratic challenger Derek Tran in a plurality Asian American district where Democrats have a registration advantage. Another closely watched rematch has U.S. Rep. David Valadao. I don't know if he's a Brazilian or Portuguese or something. That's what that name looks like. A dairy farmer facing up against Democratic former state lawmaker Rudy Salas in the San Joaquin Valley. Chicano farm workers, very big movements there, it says. In the suburbs north of Los Angeles, incumbent U.S. Rep. Mike Garcia will compete with Democratic challenger George Whitesides, a former chief executive of space tourism. State Senator Dave Min and Scott Ball, a former GOP state assembly leader, are facing off to replace U.S. Rep. Katie Porter in the 47th district of south of Los Angeles. Got to keep Katie Porter in there. She is definitely she's one of my favorite politicians, and we definitely got to keep her in the game. So, anybody in California, if you have an opportunity to vote for Katie Porter, please do so. If you are in her district, in the 47th district, get out and vote. The races are being closely watched because many of them lean Democratic, and our district's President Biden won in 2020. Well, there you go. Yo, California is so big. Like it's such a big state, and there's so many major cities in it. All right, what we got here? Did y'all see? Did you now let's look at some Ted Cruz cringe. It's time for some Ted Cruz cringe. Let's see what we got. We got Jen in the bill. Oh, we got Jen. Thank you for becoming a member. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for being here, for rocking out with me. Thank you for being with me on Labor Day yesterday. It was a good Labor Day. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Now it's 4:13 p.m. Eastern time, 3:13 p.m. Central time, and 1:13 out there in the Pacific. And it's time for some Ted Cruz cringe. That's what that means. I'm sure that y'all probably have seen this, but let's get it on. Ted Cruz cringe. Everybody hates Ted Cruz. He has a great chance of winning his reelection. I hope he does, and I hope we can get Ted Cruz out of here. But yeah, we this is how pretty much everybody feels about Ted Cruz. It's just like, whoa. Nobody's excited to see you, Ted. It went viral. Everyone loved it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody loved it's a Ted Cruz reflex, they say. She said, yes, I believe I read that in a medical journal. I think it was called the Ted Cruz reflex. Quite common, actually. Indeed, it is quite common. A phenomenon that happens when Ted Cruz is anywhere within a single state's vicinity of you. You'll notice a little bit of a nauseating feeling coming about yourself. You may get weak in the knees. You may get a little feverish. It's just Ted Cruz. That's all it is. That's all it is.
What are your Saturdays like?
They're intense.
Are they?
Yeah. So I lived in LA before this, RIP. And
because of the earthquake.
yeah, because of the earthquake and the flooding and all that stuff.
Probably.
Which West Coast time was elite for college football because I'd wake up.
I don't know what that has to do with this, but indeed, we all feel you. Everybody hates Ted Cruz. Oh man. Yes, that was perfect right there. Right, that good. I didn't even pick up on that. That yes, his jacket doesn't quite fit him at all. Good observation. Because it stuck out, but I guess it's Ted Cruz, so you just expect him to be a bit of a dork. You know what I mean? Don't really need to watch this. We don't need to look at that. Let's see. I'm sure you already saw the report about a former GOP official will no longer have any involvement with Trump campaign after predicting total defeat in New Hampshire. Again, I'm really trying to talk about, obviously we're still going to talk about stuff like that, but it's really talking about this election is really getting boring because there's not much new. There's not much to say about it. You know what I'm saying? Like every day, Kamala's beating Trump in this new set of polls. Like that's all. It's just Kamala beating him in the polls, Kamala beating him in fundraising, Kamala beating him in everything, and Donald Trump, being his normal ridiculous self. It's just boring. You know what I mean? That's why we gotta that's why we're checking out the Ted Cruz cringe. And yesterday we got into the ballot measures. We looking at the repercussions of the reversal of Roe v. Wade. Because other than that, I mean, again, this shit's honestly it's boring. It's just the same commentary every single day. Let's see. We got JD Vance tied to ultra right project that called hunger a great motivator for the unemployed. This dude, and he like clip after clip after clip surfaces of him just what is it what would it be he just clip after clip of him saying people who don't have kids have no stake in the future. What was he saying? I saw a clip of him the other day of him saying some shit like what was he saying? He basically was saying that the idea of diversity, equity, inclusion, or equity within society basically is a religious path, and and people are fooled into following this path, and it can't bring you any fulfillment. Making society more equitable can't bring anybody any fulfillment. That so says JD Vance. He really has this weird obsession with disliking people without kids. It's really weird. I mean, I know that that word gets used a lot, but it really, really is strange. Like, dude, what's your issue? What's wrong with you, man? Oh, and we got some brilliant theories from Candace Owens. Can't go a day without those. What's she talking about? TikTok and it's social engineering. What is it doing? It's making the frogs gay. TikTok's making everybody gay. Socially engineering men to be gay because gay people didn't exist until social media apps were invented. That it wasn't a thing. You know what I'm saying? Look at her in her deep thoughts, her very deep thoughts. That she's so stupid. All right, let's see.
Again, it is a partnership between the media, Hollywood, and psychoanalysts, and it is against the people for the most part. They're not socially engineering us to do good things. And so TikTok, when you look at that and you realize that they're sort of able to speed up that process and to make us behave in ways that are not natural to humanity, it's just not natural to our human existence, that the people for the most part, they're not socially engineering us to do.
I wasn't listening. I'm sorry. I had to rewind it because I wasn't listening.
It is a partnership between the media, Hollywood, and psychoanalysts, and it is against the people for the
It's a partnership between the media, Hollywood, and psychoanalysts.
most part. They're not socially engineering us to do good things. And so TikTok, when you look at that and you realize that they're sort of able to speed up that process and to make us behave in ways that are not natural to humanity, it's just not natural to our human existence to behave.
You know, I mean, it's Candace Owens, so you really can't take it seriously. But it's just like you have a white husband. So if being gay is not natural to the human experience, then interracial marriage isn't either. I mean, it's really that stupid. Like interracial marriage is not natural if being gay is not natural, and your husband is white. He's not white. He's not a white guy with some swag. He is white. So you're kind of killing your own argument right there if you want to be that black and white about things.
In these ways, right? Suddenly women are having a strange relationship with children. So you see some people that like took on feminism and were like, I don't want to have children at all, which again, against evolution. How do we go on?
Candace, everyone doesn't need to have children when most people do. Like what? Oh God, I don't even have anything to say. There's 8 billion people in the world, Candace. Everyone doesn't need to have kids. A lot of people can't have kids. But I just she's so sad. She's such a sad, pathetic person. She really is. Because everything she says is just so hollow and ridiculous.
If women do not want to have children. And then, again, somebody pointed this out to me on TikTok, even in circumstances where the biological overrides and women are going, you know what, suddenly I feel my biological clock ticking. I want to have a child. They are social engineering women to want to do that without men. So this is my perspective.
Again, so then weren't people socially engineered into allowing you to have a white husband because that used to be illegal. And it's not, you ain't no black man gonna marry you anyway. But I just yeah, she's so dumb. She's so stupid.
Don't hate me. Hate what's actually happening. I believe women are being socially engineered to hate men, and men are being socially engineered to be gay. Don't at me. It's just what I see. I've picked up on it. They're just making.
It's just what I see. It's just what I've picked up on. Okay, I don't. I mean, there's really not much to say about that. Just a good opportunity to look at what our competition is. This is what they got going on the right. The social media is manipulating guys into liking guys, and it's manipulating women into not wanting to give birth. or something or the other like that. But Candace Owens makes her career on social media. And again, I'll say this again. Uh, she has a white husband, and if you want to talk about eugenics and shit, that's not natural. So I don't, yeah, whatever. All right, let's move on. We got a few. We got some. Let's see. Are we gonna do these today? Or I should do a whole episode where we just go over stuff like this. Hmm. Overprotection. This is the epitome of being exactly lady fucking T. She's even whiter than her husband. Like, okay, Candace. Whatever you say. Now let's check out when you're a little too overprotective. When you're a little too overprotective. Her husband doesn't want her watching crime shows on TV while she's pregnant because he thinks they're inappropriate for their unborn baby to listen to. Oh man. Oh man. Well, I guess he cares. Let's see. This 25-year-old woman is married, and she and her husband, who is 28, are expecting their very first baby, a girl. Plus, their daughter is due in just 3 weeks. My husband and I are so very excited to meet her, and everything has honestly been going great, she said. However, about a week ago, one issue seemed to crop up in their relationship out of nowhere, and it involved what shows she likes to watch on TV. For some context, she always loved crime shows and has actually watched series such as Law and Order and Criminal Minds numerous times over. Yet just last week, when she hit 35 weeks in her pregnancy, her husband suddenly had a problem with her choice of entertainment. He told me I should stop in case the baby hears. The baby gonna hear. You see stories like this, and you're like, "Is this even real?" But yeah, it just might be. At first, she seriously thought her husband was just kidding around, but it soon became clear that he was dead serious. Her husband claimed to be concerned about their unborn baby listening to and subconsciously absorbing such heavy topic matter that's covered in the television shows. I think he's a little nervous. I think he's a little nervous about bringing a baby into the world, but she doesn't understand language yet, so that's not a problem. She, on the other hand, finds her husband's perspective utterly ridiculous. Well, yeah, I think he's just a bit nervous. Tell him to smoke a little weed or something. Don't do it around you, so the secondhand smoke doesn't get inhaled. Don't want the baby getting high. But yeah, I think you can take a couple of chill pills. It was even funny because this was literally a topic of Criminal Minds when one of the characters was pregnant. So she tried telling her husband not to worry and that their daughter would not hear anything. Plus, she pointed out that their baby wouldn't even be able to understand any of it. Despite that, her husband wouldn't stop arguing over the TV shows. In fact, he has apparently been super stressed out about what she watches ever since. To appease him, I have been watching other shows in my free time, but honestly, it kind of annoys me. Yeah, I think he might need a little therapy. I think he's freaking out. You know what I'm saying? I think he's freaking out just a little bit because he's about to have a baby. It's a big responsibility. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Way too young. Way too young. We can't have them exposed to the real world quite that young. We want to let kids maintain their imagination and their sense of innocence before reality slaps them in the face and they see how unfair the world and life really is. We don't need them exposed to that shit that young. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's all it was. All right, now we have. Let's see. Are we gonna do this one? Are we gonna do this one? Let's see. Nah, we're not gonna do this one today. I'll save this for another day. Thank y'all for joining me today for our Tuesday post Labor Day live stream. It looks like my computer's not tripping no more. I fixed those issues with everything. I got the trackers and stuff off, so now we're not having those backup issues with the videos. I got some planning to do. Gotta we gonna get some other episodes going in here on the channel. But thank you everybody for your memberships today. Thank you everybody for joining me. Thank you for the support. Thank you for your belief. Thank you for everything that you do. It means a lot and it is paying off in more ways than one. you all have a fantastic rest of the day. Be safe, enjoy yourselves, smoke some weed if that's what you do, have a drink if that's what you do. And I will see you tomorrow. I'll definitely be streaming tomorrow. So thank you again.